How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video today. As you can see, the sun's barely up and starting to come up over the horizon, so we're gonna head out, hopefully get lucky. Some ukus and moos is kind of our target species for today, but whatever comes around I'll gladly take. And I'm in the brand new wetsuit from Hanapa, hooked me up, so I'm ready to be nice and warm in there. And yeah, we're gonna head out, hopefully do some damage. I'll see you guys in the water. Shoots, everybody. Alright guys, so to start off the dive, I was doing some warm-up drops. This is in about 60 to 65 feet, around there, and I was seeing a big pile of moo just sitting on the bottom, and these were good sized moo. So I get down to the bottom and I start doing all of the stuff I normally do when I'm hunting moo, and that's, you know, dusting and scratching. And this big pile of toppies comes through, which is not a good sign. It's never a good sign to see a big school of invasives anywhere, but it is what it is. And so I start using a rock to try and scrape on another rock to amplify the sound of scratching a little bit more, to see if that'll bring anything in. It doesn't really work in this case, but it works sometimes, so try it out if you guys want to bring in more moves. And this is what I wanted to show. When I look back there, there's a huge pile of just these baby-sized moo. And that's really, really a good sign for the future of this spot, because this spot has a ton of the adult moo already, and you can see them kind of in the distance there, and those baby ones are always a good sign. So after a bunch more unsuccessful blind drops, getting to the bottom in like 60s, 70s with nothing coming around, my buddy Rayse calls me over and he says he saw a big uku, a big 8-pounder just cruising around at the bottom here. Now this was pretty deep, and I knew it was going to be pretty deep, so I breathed up for a while. My watch recorded this as 76 feet. And this was my deepest drop and my last drop of the day. So I get down to the bottom, and I didn't see the ukus from the surface that Rayse was talking about, but I knew that they were in the area, and as long as they're in the area, I can call them in. And sure enough, as soon as I get down to the bottom, there's one of the ukus right there. I start dusting and grunting, and he starts to get a little bit more curious, but not quite enough. So I start scratching a little bit more, kind of angling my body off towards him, and I start scratching a lot, and surprisingly, that's what brought him in the most. So he comes in, he starts beelining it towards me, and he gives me a broadside look here, but I wasn't confident in that shot, so I just drop right back down, dusting again, and then I scratch, and I scratch louder this time and more frequently, because that's what worked. And so he beelines it back towards me, I line up, and I take my shot. So as soon as I hit him, I knew that my shot wasn't very good. I could see that it was kind of low, but I could also see that my shaft was angled upwards. Now, because I was at a lower level than the uku was, it was kind of like I was shooting up at him. And so my shaft went through his guts, but then it went up through his body. So it was a holding shot, but I still was not confident that that shot was going to hold the entire time. So immediately, as soon as I get to the surface, I just tell Rayse real fast that I'm going to need a backup shot. And so I start, and with that the fight is on, so I start kind of just easing this uku up off the bottom, trying to prevent him from getting tangled up on the reef there. So just real nice and slow, just easing him up, and I lift my head up right there, and I let Rayse know, hey, I'm gonna need a backup shot. So, and I tell him to wait until I bring him up a little bit, because I don't want him to take a quick breathe up and then drop down all the way to 70 feet and then get into trouble as he's on his way up. So I'm just fighting this uku really, really light, because I don't want my shaft to rip out. So I'm just easing him up off the bottom real slow, letting him run when he wants, and just really making sure that I'm not trying to force him up off the bottom, because if I do that, it's going to make the wound wider, the shot hole wider, and it's going to make more of a chance for that uku to rip off. So I'm just kind of trying to get him up high enough to where Rayse can get down and put in that backup shot. That's all I'm trying to do right now. I'm kind of just stalling. I'm not trying to bring him up all the way to the surface. That's what Rayse's backup shot is for.
Rayse, try go.
So I let Rayse know right there that I'm ready for him to take the backup shot. The uku should be high enough. He's about 40 feet off the bottom right now. And so Rayse didn't hear me the first time. And he starts breathing up now. He hands me the anchor for our float, and then he starts to take his drop. And as he's going down, I'm trying to hold the uku as still as I possibly can. trying to hold him in that same depth so that it makes it easier for Rayse. And Rayse goes down, he grabs my line, lines up on the uku, and then puts a nice backup shot right in the gill plate. Perfect holding shot. If my spear did rip off, the uku would still be on Rayse's gun with a really nice holding shot in the gills. So I knew that as soon as he put in that backup shot, we had this fish in the bag. So I was super stoked because I knew this uku was big. And after so many unsuccessful drops, it just felt really nice to land one of these not monster, I was about to say monster fish, but it's not a monster uku, but it is definitely an accomplishment for me. As you'll later see in the video, it's my personal best, and I was super stoked because I had a feeling that this would be bigger than my current personal best. So I was super excited, especially after putting in a lot of work, taking these blind drops into deep water, which is really tiring for me at least, and not having anything to show for it until this uku showed up. And shout out to Rayse for even letting me know that the uku was over there, because all of the grounds looks the same, it's all flat like that. So I was just taking drops in random places, and I wouldn't have taken a drop if Rayse hadn't told me there was a uku there. So really stoked on this fish. But after this, things get a little bit more hectic. So at first this clip might not look like anything out of the ordinary, but if you look at the bottom, if you look at kind of the structure and the landmarks down there, you'll notice that right now I'm kicking as hard as I can, but I'm not moving. And the bottom isn't getting any, those rocks in the back aren't getting any closer. And it felt like the current was so strong to the point where it felt like I was moving backwards, even though I was kicking forwards. And it was like this for about an hour and a half. I was just stuck on this treadmill, just constantly kicking. And after a while, I finally broke out of it by swimming closer to the shoreline. And it just took a lot out of me. I started to cramp in my legs, and I started to get really tired. But I knew I had to push through because I did not want to get stuck out there with the ripping current. On top of this, as I was swimming in, I kept getting this weird feeling that I was being watched by something. Sure enough, I turn around and there's a big old Galapagos. He actually showed up once before when I was fighting the current on the outside, and he was checking out my fish, but then he swam away and I didn't see him again after that. But as I was in the shallows, he followed me all the way into the shallows, and there he is right now. And he was looking at my fish. He kept making passes around. He would swim off, get scared, and then he would come back. I would swim at him, try and make myself look big. He'd get scared, then he'd come back. And at first he was keeping his distance. As you can see there, he's not super close to me. But then after a while, he started to get really curious and really comfortable, and he came like right up to me. And here I could have gone down and poked him, but I don't know, he seemed pretty like calm and relaxed, and he wasn't showing too many signs of aggression, so I kind of just let him be, but definitely kept an eye on him and definitely was watching my back a lot more after that. Alright guys, we're back from the dive. I'm super exhausted from swimming through all that current and having to deal with that Galapagos, and overall it's just a really dangerous dive, but I managed to come out with this really nice size uku. Definitely, I think it's gonna be the biggest one I've ever shot. It's definitely one of the biggest, if not the biggest. So we're just gonna get a quick weight on him, find out. Okay, so we got the scale at 0. 8.2. That was upside down, but there's the... Super stoked on this uku. Makes the dive feel a little more worth it. It was super dangerous, but luckily I came out okay, and my dad and Rayse, we all came out okay. But look at the colors on the bottom fin and the light blue on the top. Like, at first glance, uku seemed like really simple colored fish, but man, look at that. Those vibrant blues, bluish greens, super sick. Super stoked on this fish. PB uku, baby. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I am absolutely exhausted, but very grateful to be back on dry land, and for the most part all in one piece. I'm sore all over my body, but you know, I'm just glad that me and Rayse were able to find each other and then make it back, and nobody was hurt, and nobody was lost, and that's the most important thing. And then on top of that, I managed to get out with my PB uku, so that's pretty sick. But yeah, mostly just grateful to be alive and grateful to be back on shore safely, and really just grateful to still be here right now and being able to film this outro for you guys. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Remember, be safe when you're going diving. Diving is super fun. It's one of the best hobbies out there, most sustainable form of fishing in existence, and it has a lot of great things to it, but it is very dangerous, especially when you're going deep. But even in shallow water, in any kind of, if you're in the ocean, there's always a chance that something can go wrong. So be careful. Make sure you look ahead, forecast, surf forecast, current forecast, tide forecast. All of those things will help you make your dive safer. This dive, I actually forgot to check the tide forecast before I went in the water, and that was my mistake, the reason why I was caught in that really bad current. So yeah, if you guys are gonna be heading out, make sure you take all the proper safety precautions and you guys be careful, because you don't want to get hurt. No fish is worth your life and no dive is worth your life. So most important thing is you get back to shore, and to do that you got to be careful. So that's all I got for you guys today, and I'm gonna go take a very long nap, and I will see you guys in the next video. Shoots, everybody.